The whaleboat came when the mist was thin and drifted up the bay. Upon the tide she ghosted in where the whales all feeding lay, where the whales all feeding lay. They'll trap the whales on the falling tide upon the shingle beach, then slay each one for the bone and oil when the sea is out of reach, when the sea is out of reach. So softly then they drove the whales up from the heaving sea, but down there came a small craft, and aboard were women three. One was a fair and shapely maid, the older nursed a child, oh, the eldest grinned a cat-toothed grin, and they all sang drunk and wild, oh. Swift did it go, though none did row, her gaps and vents gaped wide, and from that craft such a music came, a-drifting up the tide, a-drifting up the tide. For those on board sang drunken songs that echoed round the bay, and no man nigh dared raise a cry for fear he start the prey, for fear he start the prey. The angry whalers waved their hands to bade the three be still, but aye they loudly clashed their cups, and aye they sang more shrill. One was a fair and shapely maid, the older nursed a child, oh, the eldest grinned a gap-toothed grin, and they all sang drunk and wild, oh. The youngest seized on an iron pot and beat it without rest. The older chanted ribaldry while the child lay at her breast, while the child lay at her breast. The oldest played on a great bagpipe, a reel to rouse the dead, and at that sound the boat turned round, and towards the whales it sped, and towards the whales it sped. The frightened whales turned up their tails and dived beneath the swell, but from the three in the leaky tub came a loud triumphant yell. One was a fair and shapely maid, the older nursed a child, oh, the eldest grinned a gap-toothed grin, and they all sang drunk and wild, oh. And in that moment a burst of spray hid all the three from sight, but ah, what mocking laughter rose to fade in the gathering night, to fade in the gathering night. The wailing men cried out in rage and brandished stave and fist, but the night was still, for the boat and all had vanished like the mist, had vanished like the mist. And down that steep and rocky coast, they say who hears such tales, the threefold goddess guards that coast, and thus she guards the whales. One was a fair and shapely maid, the older nursed a child, oh, the eldest grinned a gap-toothed grin, and they all sang drunk and wild, oh.